Endocrinology, chemical coordination. The cellular functions need to be continuously regulated. The nerve fibers do not innervate all the cells of the body. The special kind of coordination system is thus required. The endocrine system serves the role to coordinate most body cells. The hormonal system is concerned with control of the different metabolic functions, such as the rate of chemical reactions, the transport of substances through the cell membranes, growth and secretion. This coordination is called chemical coordination. Hormones, the chemical messengers. The glands are structures made up of one or more cells that make and release some product called secretin. These glands are classified as exocrine glands and the endocrine glands. Exocrine glands outside crine to secrete their products onto the target surface directly or through ducts. Liver, salivary glands, sweat glands, and the tear glands have ducts. The unicellular goblet cells, on the other hand, directly release mucin on the target surface by exocytosis. Endocrine glands end with and crine to secrete are ductless glands. They produce hormones and secrete by exocytosis directly into extracellular spaces. From there, the hormones enter the blood or lymphatic fluid and travel to specific target sites. Chemical nature of hormones. Chemically, hormones are of three basic types: steroids, amino acids, are derivatives, and proteins or polypeptides. Steroid hormones. These are derivatives of cholesterol. Different steroidal hormones are secreted by the adrenal cortex, cortisol, and aldosterone. The ovaries, estrogen and progesterone, the testes, testosterone, and the placenta, estrogen and progesterone. Derivatives of amino acid, tyrosine. Two groups of hormones are derivatives of amino acid, tyrosine. The metabolic hormones thyroxine and thioredoxine from thyroid glands and epinephrine and norepinephrine from adrenal medullae are also derived from amino acid tyrosine. Proteins are peptides. Many important endocrine hormones are protein. Peptides are immediate derivatives of these growth hormones, and prolactin are protein while antidiuretic. The goblet cells is a unicellular exocrine gland. Goblet cells are secreted in the epithelial linings of the intestinal and respiratory tracts. And humans, all such glands produce mucin. The mucin is complex glycoprotein that dissolves in water when secreted to form mucus. Hormone and oxytocin are peptides of 9 amino acids. Each insulin, glucagon, and parathormone are large polypeptides. Endocrine system of men are humans. Endocrine system is the type of glandular system consists of 20 ductless glands lying in different parts of the body. Pituitary glands. Pituitary gland is located in the brain under hypothalamus. It is red gray in color, about the size of pea. Pituitary gland weighs about 0.5 grams. It is attached to hypothalamus by a stalk called infundibulum. It is divided into three lobes: the anterior pituitary, the posterior pituitary, and the intermediate pituitary. Anterior pituitary. Classically, the anterior pituitary is considered the master gland of endocrine system because it secretes numerous hormones, many of which regulate the activity of other endocrine glands. Four out of six anterior pituitary hormones: thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, and luteinizing hormone, are tropic hormones, which are hormones that regulate the secretory action of other endocrine glands. Growth hormones are somatotropin has direct effect on growth and development of all the body parts, particularly skeleton and skeletal muscles during childhood and adolescence. Growth hormones stimulate cell growth and cell division. It also stimulate uptake of amino acids into cells and increase rate of protein synthesis. Deficiency of growth hormone results in dwarfism. Development is much slower and individual has short. However, the body parts stay in proportion and brain development and IQ are unaffected. Gigantism is resulted by oversecretion of growth hormone during childhood. As the bones are still capable of growth, person becomes a giant, big body structure. Oversecretion of growth hormone in adult life causes acromegaly. Some body parts grows. Bones are no longer capable of increasing in length but grow in thickness. Acromegaly is characterized by enlarging the hands, feet, skull, nose, and jawbone. Acromegaly is characterized by enlarging the hands, feet, skull, nose, and jawbone. Thyrotrophin releasing factor from hypothalamus stimulates the synthesis and release thyroid stimulating hormone from the anterior pituitary. Thyroid stimulating hormone regulates the endocrine function of thyroid gland. Thyroid stimulating release is regulated by negative feedback of thyroxine acting on hypothalamus and anterior pituitary. Adrenocorticotropic hormone secretion is stimulated by adrenocorticotrophin releasing factor from the hypothalamus. Adrenocorticotropic hormone acts on adrenal cortex and stimulates the secretion of glucocorticoid and androgens. Follicle stimulating hormones. Its secretion is stimulated by adrenocorticotropin. A follicle stimulating hormone is gonadotropic hormone. Its secretion is stimulated by gonadotropic hormone from the hypothalamus. In female, it stimulates maturation of ovarian follicle and estrogen production. In males, it stimulates the development of germinal epithelium and sperm production in the testes. Luteinizing hormone. Its secretion is controlled by gonadotropic hormone. In females, a target site is ovary. It triggers ovulation and ovarian production of estrogen and progesterone. It is also causes luteinization, converts ruptured follicle to glandular structure called corpus luteum or lutea carpura and maintains it. In males, luteinizing hormone is also known as interstitial cell stimulating hormone. It promotes testosterone production in interstitial cells of the testes. During pregnancy, secretion of prolactin causes enlargement of the mammary glands and prepare for the production of milk, lactation. It inhibits menstrual cycle in lactating women. Intermediate median lobe. In human, intermediate pituitary has a thin layer of cells between the anterior and posterior pituitary. It produces melanocyte stimulating hormone. Melanocyte stimulating hormone increase in human during pregnancy. Also, it stimulates the production and release of melanin by melanocytes in skin and hair, which darken the color of the skin, especially during pregnancy. Posterior lobe. Posterior pituitary stores antidiuretic hormone are vasopressin and cytosine. These hormones are released in response to nerve impulses from hypothalamus. Antidiuretic hormone. Diuresis means urine production. Antidiuretic is any substance which inhibits urine formation. Osmoreceptors in hypothalamus monitor the solute concentration of blood. It is released when solute concentration increases as a result of water loss. It acts on kidney tubules to enhance water reabsorption. More water reabsorbed, concentrated urine is produced. Blood volume increases and solute concentration become normal. Oxytocin. Oxytocin as released during childbirth and in nursing women, stretching up the uterus and cervix during parturition is a strong stimulus for a release of oxytocin, low level of progesterone in blood to the end of pregnancy, and neural stimuli of mother during childbirth. Also stimulate release of oxytocin during birth. It is released in waves and results in labor contractions. In lactating women, suckling causes the release of oxytocin. The letdown reflex, also known as the milk ejection reflex, is set up by this hormone. Thyroid glands. Thyroid gland is composed of two lobes which are located on either side of the trachea inferior to the larynx. Thyroid gland produces three active hormones: thyroidothyroxine, thyroxine, and calcitonin. Tri and tetraiodothyroxine. C and C4 are iodine containing hormone. Triiodothyroxine contains 3 iodine atoms in structure and thyroxine contains 4. Hence the names T and T4. TSH from anterior pituitary stimulates production and release of both hormones of the thyroid. The level of thyroxine circulating in blood regulates the secretion of these hormones from the thyroid gland by negative feedback mechanism involving hypothalamus and anterior pituitary. These hormones show a variety of psychological, physiological effects. Promote vessel metabolic rate of the body, enhance glucose catabolism and synthesis of cholesterol in the liver and promote development of nervous system in fetus and infants. They act on muscles for their development and functioning and promote growth and maturation of skeleton. These hormones are promote normal motility of the gastrointestinal tract. Hypothyroidism. Overactivity of thyroid causes Graves' disease. Graves' disease is believed to be an autoimmune disease. The serum of patient contains abnormal antibodies that mimic TSH and continuously stimulate thyroxine release. Symptoms include high metabolic rate, rapid and irregular heartbeat, nervousness, increased ventilation rate, increased body temperature, sweating, and weight loss. Despite adequate food intake, mostly exophthalmia, protrusion of the eyeballs results from Graves' disease and as a classic symptom of hyperthyroidism. Exophthalmia results from swelling of the tissues around eye and within the orbit that develops in reaction to the high level of thyroxine. This was all about hyperthyroidism. Now, hypothyroidism. The underactivity of the thyroid gland may be due to the lack of thyroid stimulating production by the anterior pituitary, iodine deficiency in the food, or failure of enzyme system involved in thyroxine production. Thyroid hormones cannot be synthesized without iodine, and this can cause problems in regions where farm, soil, and drinking water have little or no iodine. In the absence of iodine, thyroid hormone levels in the blood decrease. The anterior pituitary detects decrease and secretes more thyroid stimulating hormone excessively. So, excess thyroid stimulating hormone overstimulates thyroid gland and causes it to enlarge. Since thyroid hormones are not being synthesized, the outcome is hypothyroidism. The resulting tissue enlargement is a form of goiter. Goiter caused by iodine deficiency is no longer common in countries where iodized salt is widely used. Elsewhere, hundreds of thousands of people still suffer from the disorder, which is easily preventable. If there is deficiency of thyroxine at birth, it results in a severe hypothyroidism. In infants called cretinism, child is mentally retarded with poor physical growth and disproportionate body size. Bone maturation and puberty are severely delayed and infertility is common. In adults, the full-blown hypothyroid syndrome is called myxedema, means mucus filling as body weight increases due to the formation and storage of semi-fluid material under the skin. Symptoms include a low metabolic rate, feeling, child puppy eyes, thick and dry skin with hair loss from the scalp and eyebrows, edema, tongue swelling, constipation, lethargy, and mental sluggishness but not mental retardation. Myxedema may result from lack of iodine. The thyroid gland enlarges and protrudes. The condition is called endemic or colloidal guides. Calcitonin. Calcitonin, the thyroid gland also secretes calcitonin. This hormone plays a minor but direct role in cellular levels of calcium ions. When the levels rise, calcitonin promotes calcium deposition into bones. When the level return to normal, thyroid cells decrease their secretion of calcitonin. Calcitonin inhibits Ci2 plus absorption by the intestines and decrease its reabsorption by the kidney tubules, allowing its excretion in urine. It also inhibits potassium ion reabsorption in kidney tubules. Calcitonin appears more important in childhood when the skeleton grows quickly and the bones are changing dramatically in mass, size, and shape. If deficient, calcium ions are not deposited in bones and high blood calcium level causes disturbance in functioning of muscles and may lead to kidney stones. Parathyroid glands. Parathyroid. In human, there are four parathyroid glands. All four glands are located on the thyroid gland. They are small light-colored lumps that stick out from the ventral surface of the thyroid gland. The parathormone is the single most important hormone of parathyroid controlling the calcium balance of the blood. Its release is triggered by low blood calcium levels and inhibited by blood calcium level. Parathormone stimulates osteoclasts to reabsorb bone minerals and liberating calcium into blood. It stimulates absorption of calcium in the small intestine and also its reabsorption in the kidney tubules. Oversecretion of parathormone is usually a result of parathyroid gland tumor. Calcium is released from the bones and bone gets softened and tend to fracture spontaneously, especially in old ages. Blood calcium level elevates hypercalcemia, which depresses nervous system and causes weakness of muscles. Excess calcium salts precipitate in the kidneys, leading to stone formation. Undersecretion of parathormone causes hypocalcemia. This increases the excitability of neurons. Also, it can lead to tetany in which muscles remain in contracted state. If untreated, it can be fatal. Pancreas, islets of Langerhans, most important exocrine and endocrine gland. The pancreas is double gland as it serves both as exocrine and endocrine gland. The bulk of the gland is exocrine and is formed of acinar cells which synthesize pancreatic juice rich in digestive enzymes. Pancreatic juice is delivered to the duodenum by pancreatic duct during food digestion. Endocrine pancreas consists of islets of Langerhans. In humans, pancreas has about 1 million islets scattered among the acinar cells. Each islet is a small mass of cells with two major types of cells, glucagon producing alpha cells and insulin producing beta cells. Insulin is released by beta cells in response to a rise in blood glucose level. Its oral effect is to reduce blood glucose level to the normal level. Increases the rate of glucose uptake by most body cells, especially skeletal muscles and fat cells. Promotes glycogenesis in liver and muscle cells. Increase the use of glucose in cellular respiration. Promotes the conversion of excess glucose to fats. Inhibits gluconeogenesis, glucose synthesis. Increase the rate of uptake of amino acid into the cells and the rate of protein synthesis. If insulin is deficient or is hypoactive, blood glucose level after meal remains high. Hyperglycemia. Kidneys cannot reabsorb such high volume of glucose from the filtrate and excess of glucose begins to be lost from the body and the urine glycosuria. This metabolic disease is known as diabetes mellitus. The three cardinal signs of diabetes mellitus are polyuria, a condition in which abnormally large volume of urine is produced; polydipsia, a condition of excessive thirst; polyphagia, a condition of excessive hunger and ingestion of food. Low blood glucose level causes breakdown of muscle tissues, loss of weight, and tiredness. If untreated, diabetes finally leads to the disruption of heart activity and oxygen transport, and severe depression of the nervous system leads to coma and death. Hypersecretion, a rare disorder of insulin, results in hypoglycemia. Other effects include hunger, sweating, irritability, double vision, unconsciousness, and even death. Glucagon. Glucagon is hyperglycemic agent. It is released by alpha cells when blood glucose level is low. Sympathetic nervous system also stimulates its secretion. High blood glucose level insulin and somatostatin suppress its secretion. Its role is to increase the blood glucose level. It promotes glycogenolysis. It promotes gluconeogenesis, synthesis of glucose from lactic acid and other non-carbohydrate compounds like proteins and fats. Promotes release of glucose to the body by liver cells, which causes blood glucose level to rise. Adrenal glands. Human body has a pair of adrenal glands, one above each kidney. Each adrenal gland is composed of two types of tissues, outer adrenal cortex and the adrenal medulla. Adrenal cortex. It produces many steroid hormones called corticosteroids or corticoids. Among them, aldosterone is chief mineralocorticoid. It is secreted in response to which had also some effect in its secretion. It works to increase blood sodium level, especially acting on kidney tubules to enhance sodium and thus water reabsorption. Adrenal consists of modified ganglionic sympathetic neurons that synthesize epinephrine and norepinephrine. The two hormones exert the same effects. Epinephrine is the more potent stimulator of metabolic activities. Bronchial dilation and increased blood flow to skeletal muscles and the heart, but norepinephrine has the greater influence on peripheral vasoconstriction and blood pressure. Epinephrine is used clinically as a heart stimulant and to dilate the bronchioles during acute asthmatic attacks. The gonads. Gonads are special type of endocrine glands which, beside hormone secretion, also produce gametes. Female gonads are ovaries while male gonads are testes. Ovaries. Besides producing ova, the ovaries produce several hormones, most importantly estrogens and progesterone. The estrogen are responsible for maturation of the reproductive organs and the appearance of secondary sex characteristics of female puberty. Acting with progesterone, estrogen promotes breast development and cyclic changes in the uterine mucosa in the menstrual cycle. Progesterone promotes further thickening and vascularization of the uterus for the implantation of zygote. Maintains pregnancy and causes the development of breast during pregnancy. Testes. The male testis located and an extra abdominal skin pouch called the scrotum produce sperm and male sex hormones, primarily testosterone. During puberty. Testosterone initiates the maturation of male reproductive organs and the appearance of secondary sex characteristics and sex drive. In addition, testosterone is necessary for normal sperm production and maintains the reproductive organs and their mature function state in adult males. Feedback mechanism. It is type of interaction in which controlling mechanism is itself controlled by product of reaction. It is controlling. After receiving the signal to correct deviation by depressing it with negative feedback or enhancing it with negative feedback mechanism. Negative feedback mechanism. Negative feedback mechanism to maintain homeostasis. This feedback results in a reversal of the direction of change. Negative feedback change tend to stabilize a system, correcting deviations from the set point. A good example of negative feedback is with hormone insulin. Insulin is produced by pancreas. Insulin is released by pancreas as response to consumption of glucose. The amount of glucose in the blood rises and the pancreas detects this increase. It then secretes insulin into blood. Insulin increases glucose uptake in target cells. Glucose uptake by cells decreases blood glucose levels. This decrease is detected by the pancreas. In response, it stops secreting insulin into the bloodstream. A blood glucose level falls below normal level. Insulin secretion is inhibited. At the same time, the alpha cells of the pancreas respond by secreting glucagon. It accelerates the breakdown of glycogen to glucose in liver and skeletal muscle cells. It increases the breakdown of fats to fatty acid and glycerol in adipose tissues and consequently the release of these substances into the blood. Glucagon also stimulates liver cells to increase glucose synthesis from glycerol absorbed from the blood and glucose released into the blood. These effects collectively cause an increase in blood glucose level back to normal level. Positive feedback. Positive feedback response is to amplify the change in variable. This has destabilizing effect. Destabilizing effect so does not result in homeostasis. Positive feedback is less common than negative feedback, but it has its applications. Positive feedback enables childbirth. The hormone oxytocin stimulates and enhances labor contraction. As a baby moves toward the birth canal, it presses against the pressure receptor in the muscular part of the uterus. These receptors evoke a release of oxytocin from the pituitary gland. When the oxytocin reaches responsive receptor in the muscles of the uterus, it further increases muscular tension, thus increasing stimuli to the pressure receptor. This goes as labor until the pressure is relieved. The baby is born, oxytocin is no longer evoked, and labor contraction ceases. Key points about chemical coordination, endocrinology. The endocrine system serves the role to coordinate most body cells. Endocrine glands are structures made up of one or more cells that make and release hormones. These glands are classified as exocrine glands and the endocrine glands. Chemically, hormones are of three basic types: steroids, amino acids are their derivatives, and proteins are polypeptides. Pituitary gland signals other glands to put forth hormones. The pituitary also secretes growth hormone and antidiuretic hormone, prolactin and oxytocin, a hormone which causes contraction of the uterus during labor. Thyroid gland produces the hormone thyroxine, triiodothyronine, and calcitonin, which stimulate metabolism, body heat production, and bone growth. Parathyroid regulate the use and function of calcium and phosphorus in the body. Pancreas, the abdominal organ which secretes insulin and glucagon, which control the utilization of sugar, the body cheap source of energy for instant energy. Adrenal glands are two small glands which are present on top of each kidney. They release hydrocortisone, which affects metabolism. They also produce androgens and aldosterone, which maintains blood pressure and the body salt and potassium balance. Ovaries are female glands that produce the hormones estrogen and progesterone, produce eggs in the ovaries and influence female characteristics. Testes are male glands which secrete testosterone, which stimulates sperm production and development of male characteristics. This type of interaction in which controlling mechanism is itself controlled by the product of reaction it is controlling. After receiving the signal, a change occurs to correct the deviation by depressing it with or enhancing it with positive feedback.